Does your rear hatch have such poor lighting that one shopping bag can block out all of the light? In this video, I'll show you how to add extra lighting that functions the same way as the lighting that you already have in the trunk, but adds to it. That way you can clearly see what you have in your cargo area no matter how dark it is outside. Start by clearing out your cargo area. This is going to make working there easy, and it may even be vital because you're most likely going to have to remove some of the trim panels. While you're doing this, think about where you're going to want to put your lighting. If there is cargo that you typically carry or floor mats that go up the side to add extra protection, you'll definitely want to keep that in mind when you select where the lights are going to be. Also, make sure you select a place where the LED strip will not be crushed when a door or hatch is closed. The headliner is not a good place to mount these LED strips, and since on this vehicle there's little to no plastic trim up there, I've decided to mount it down low here. However, this low panel is going to have to be pulled out. I need it out of the way because the side panel is held in place by it, and I need to get back there to access some wires. With that lower panel out of the way, I can now access the side panel, and that means I can reach the wires that are powering this light. One thing I discovered about this particular light housing is that because there's a switch in it, and the light bulb is really close to the switch, I can't just splice into wires because there's no wire between the switch and the light. One of the wires definitely has to be there, otherwise it won't be able to be controlled by that switch. And these lights can't be wired up in series, otherwise they would dim each other down. Also, use a multimeter to find where your positive voltage is. The LED strip is going to have a positive contact and a negative contact. You'll definitely need to wire those up correctly, otherwise the lights won't work at all. After figuring out where the negative and positive sides of this circuit are, I stripped the insulation off of the tips of the wires that I will be using and started attaching them to these metal contacts. What I'm doing here isn't ideal, but on this particular car, in order to keep the stock look and functionality, this is what has to be done. I did use some heat shrink tubing here, which should help reduce the chance of anything coming in contact with these wires and shorting out the system. With that end of the wires done, I travel along the panel measuring out how far these wires have to go. It will be on the inside, so there should be a little extra length added to accommodate for that, and I'm also accounting for slack that may need to be there if you service this light. The wire is going to come out from between these two panels, so with some extra slack in mind, I make my cut. On some vehicles, you'll be able to just put the wire behind the panel to begin with, and then make the cut knowing exactly how long it needs to be. Now it's time to apply this LED strip to the lower panel. If you've taken off a panel that you're going to install these lights on, make sure you get a sense for its orientation so you don't put them on in the wrong direction. Test out where you're actually going to put your LED strip and cut it at one of the appropriate points near the contacts. You're going to need to solder your wires to these later. The LED strip peels off of this tape like a sticker. Make sure whatever you're sticking this to is clean because dirt and oil are going to reduce its effectiveness and it may just peel off if it's too dirty. At some point in this process, whatever point you deem is the safest for you to do it, you're going to need to strip away some of the clear weatherproofing material on the surface. Be careful not to injure yourself, damage the car, or cut all the way through the LED strip. With the LED strip stuck in place, we can now solder our wires to these contacts. Be careful not to hold the heat on this too long because you could end up burning or melting the stuff that the strip is stuck to. Make sure you don't solder the positive side to the negative side, creating a short in the circuit. After the solder cooled down, I applied some dielectric grease, then I covered everything with a long piece of electrical tape that was about the same color as the trim. There are other more difficult ways of hiding your electrical work, but we're going to stick with this simple way for this video. Test your switch to make sure everything works the way it should. That looks good. Let's reassemble everything. As you put your car back together, try not to put your wires in a spot where they're going to be pinched or pulled on, anything that's going to damage those wires. These wires are a bit exposed right now, but in a future video I'll show you how to tuck them away, giving your upgrades a more professional look. Let's take a look at these lights at night. Wow, that looks good, and what's even cooler is that these lights will fade out the same way that the OEM lights do. Do your OEM lights just turn off but you want them to fade out? Make sure you're subscribed because in the future I'm going to make a video explaining how you can easily make any light on your car fade out when it's turned off instead of just instantly shutting off. And it doesn't require any computer programming knowledge. If you're able to do what you saw in this video, then you'll be able to handle that video as well. I'll see you in the next Car Simplified video. Thanks for watching.